Good morning. I'm Taya Heartless, polyamorous mama of 5. I've been practicing polyamory for almost 6 years now. I did not set out to be in a polyamorous relationship, but here we are. I've learned many things in the years we've been practicing, and I'd like to share with you a little polyamory 101, if you will. Single day I see comments of people arguing whether or not our quad is polyamorous or whether or not we're just swingers or whether or not we're in an open relationship. So we're going to start out with, what is polyamory? Polyamory is the practice of engaging in multiple romantic relationships at one time. So the difference between polyamory and something like an open relationship or swinging is that an open relationship usually is just about the physical aspects. It's usually one committed relationship, and those people have an agreement in their relationship that they are allowed to seek physical extracurriculars with people outside of their relationship. But the romance and the commitment is between the two people. There is a foundational relationship. I don't speak for all open relationships. If somebody identifies as an open relationship and have different rules in their relationship, what we're not going to do is tell people that the way they identify is not correct, because sometimes there's not the perfect way to explain what your relationship is or how you exist in romantic relationships. Sometimes it's just whatever fits the best for you. If it looks like polyamory to you and they call it an open relationship, like, sure, you could offer that up. But at the end of the day, identify with what fits best and sits the best with you for your relationship. The thing about polyamory too is that some people get confused because they assume that polyamory means all partners have to be dating every single person. If that were the case, then most polyamorous relationships would not fit under that umbrella. Because for me, ethical polyamory is not just about finding this most perfect dynamic. It's about autonomy and organic connection and making sure that people are pursuing relationships that actually fulfill them. In my specific dynamic, there are myself and my husband, and then our partners who are also married. It's a square. So myself and my husband, and then our partners. I'm also dating her male partner and she's also dating my male partner, and there is no overlap. There's no same-sex relationships because I'm the only one who identifies as queer in our quad. So that is still polyamory. I've had people tell me that I shouldn't call Alicia my partner because we don't sleep together. First of all, in monogamy, there's plenty of people who no longer sleep together or never did sleep together who are in romantic relationships. And the reality is, you don't know the status of most people's sexual relationships. Polyamory, if you remember correctly, is just multiple romantic relationships. As a refresher, it has nothing to do with everybody dating everybody. Although we are not dating our same-sex partners, we do consider them non-romantic partners. They are our partners in the sense that we raise our kids together, we do life together, we talk about things together. All of the decisions that we make, all of our voices are weighed in, we own a home together. All of those things play into the fact that partner feels like it fits best for us. And honestly, the sexual piece of it isn't anybody's business. Let's say somebody can no longer have sex or they're asexual. That doesn't diminish the relationship. There are other ways to form connection, to form a bond, and to make sure that you're nurturing that relationship. A lot of people hear polyamory or relationship anarchy and they think it's a free-for-all. But in reality, because there's so many people involved, so many emotions, because there's, people who are going outside of the relationship physically and things like that, there is so much communication expectation in order to keep people safe and happy and trusting each other. It's so unique in the sense that there is so much in-depth conversation that has to go into these relationships, and there's so much growth. Polyamory has always demanded growth from myself and my partners. It can come in so many different forms. Polyamory can look like solo polyamory, where it's just one person dating other people. You could be polyamorous and have a nesting partner, somebody who you do life with, you live with, maybe you raise kids with them, but you date separately outside of that. It could be a couple that's looking for one other person or two other people, so a throuple or a triad. Or there's a quad, which is what I am in. Triads and thruples are probably the most common dynamic that people know of in polyamory. There's a lot of people who are really against them. And to that I say, it always brings me joy to see triads who really prioritize individual relationships. When you come from a place of, we do everything together, we sleep together, we go on dates together, we do nothing separately, that is problematic. Because from my perspective, if your relationship can't stand alone or wouldn't stand alone without another person being a buffer, that's a problem. If this is you, no tea, no shade. I just think maybe it's something to think about. Not to say that you need to be with somebody who can meet all your needs. That's not the sentiment behind this. The sentiment would be that you're choosing this person regardless of who else you're dating. That's such a key part of polyamory, right? Is I'm choosing you no matter what other partner I have, no matter what other relationship I have. I'm choosing to give you my time and energy. I'm choosing to commit to you. I'm choosing to love you regardless of other commitments that I have. And obviously you have to make sure that you have time and space to maintain those relationships. But at the end of the day, I truly think that if the relationship can't or won't stand alone, there is a need to revisit. Let's talk about the different types of polyamory. There are many types of polyamory, one of which is hierarchical polyamory, is such that you would have a primary partner, a secondary partner, and so on. The primary partner often has more influence. Usually it's somebody that you're parenting with, that you live with, that you're maybe legally attached to. Non-hierarchical polyamory is there's no ranking between partners. I don't consider hierarchical polyamory to be inherently bad or unethical. If I were to go out and find a partner, a same-sex partner, somebody who is queer, the reality is there's no world where I'm going to have a non-hierarchical relationship with her, because she's not going to move in with me. She's not going to raise my kids with me. She's not going to, that doesn't mean that when she has a bad day or she needs me, that I'm not going to show up for her. To me, it's about managing priorities and making sure that you're showing up for your partners when and if they need you. And I think that sometimes more than one partner has a bad day or a hard time, and that's a very real possibility that you might get pulled in two directions. And I think that's where communication comes in. Say, I really want to be there for you. So-and-so is still having a really hard time. You know, can we meet up tomorrow if you have support tonight, and then I can stay with my other partner. Same as friendships, right? You can have multiple friends without creating a hierarchy in your friendship. It's all about expectations and communication. We didn't actually start out in a non-hierarchical relationship. I started out spending 2 nights with my husband and then 1 night with my fiance, and we held on to that hierarchy for quite a while. It was only in the last couple years that we fully combined our bank accounts, and there was definitely a financial hierarchy that was affecting the way that we approached our family and as a unit. Me being the stay-at-home parent, it created a lot of issues for me in terms of like, how do I then save money, you know, when I'm working off of one paycheck and we have shared children. So as you can imagine, there was some things that we had to work through with that. And even though anytime I needed a single thing, they'd stop and get it, they'd give me money for it, it still created this weird dynamic where I had to ask. All of a sudden, it was very obvious to me that it felt very unfair and it needed to be addressed. Now we have a completely different financial structure that is really good for us. It's really good for our family. If you want to hear more about our finances, I would be happy to do a video on that. Just go ahead and drop a comment and let me know any questions that you might have on how we navigate finances. Let's talk about some of the core principles of polyamory. I would say one of the biggest ones is consent. And I know firsthand, because I've had many people tell me that they have been in relationships where their partner was unfaithful and then claimed polyamory after the fact. That is not polyamory. If you did not know or consent beforehand, it is not polyamory. I just need you to know that cheating, lying, withholding information is not a principle of polyamory. Polyamory at its core is about consent and honesty and working through emotions and growth. Let's talk metamour. Your metamour is your partner's partner. Some people are in a kitchen table type polyamory where you all sit down together, you all hang out together. It doesn't necessarily mean you live together. It just means you're willing to spend special holidays together. And there's parallel polyamory, which is more along the lines of you might be in a relationship and then you go date other people and then you come back and you might kind of tell each other, but for the most part, those are separate relationships that you have. And maybe you don't talk about it at all because you have boundaries around that and you really love your relationship with this person. But outside of consent and boundaries and respect, there's not a lot of information about what you're doing with that person because it doesn't work for everybody. Alicia, for example, doesn't necessarily want to hear about our physical intimacy, and there's no reason that she has to. She really struggles with comparing herself. So the less that she knows about those types of things, the less pressure she's going to put on herself to show up in a way that's not comfortable for her. And that's important. You don't have to be okay with every aspect of your partner being with somebody else. You don't have to sit there and watch with your eyes duct taped open. Personally, I would have a really hard time not showing affection to one of my partners when another one is around, but maybe that works for you. And it's, again, it all comes back to communication and making sure that everybody is on the same page. If it's not a big deal to them, then it might work out just fine. Every scenario, every person, every situation is unique. And sometimes it might be that you started out parallel and then you decided, I really want to meet my partner's partner. I like the way they care for them, love them because my partner loves them. And you can change and have a dynamic with that person. Or maybe you meet your partner's partner, your metamour, and you're like, I'm really glad you're happy, but they're not for me. I can't imagine it being uncommon that there's not a lot of parallel polyamory out there, because for me, a lot of the pull to polyamory is that my partners are polar opposites. Although they love and care for each other and they show up for each other and they're non-romantic partners, they would never be friends outside of the situation because they're so different. And that's what makes me happy because I get fulfilled in completely different ways. So it might be that you meet your metamour and you're like, whoa, we are on different planets. And that is exactly why your partner loves them. Let's talk about rules versus boundaries. There are some rules that are purely put into place because of insecurity and needing to hold on to that monogamous culture that says, this is mine and I'm going to keep it mine and here's how I'm going to do that. When the rules start getting very specific and the rules start surrounding couples privilege in the sense that, like, I'm going to put this rule in so that our relationship doesn't get too close. Or my husband doesn't want us sleeping in this bed because it's our marital bed. For example, we have a boundary in our relationship where the guys switch rooms every other night. So I'm with my husband one night and my fiance the other night. If it's my night with my husband, that I will not sleep with my fiance, say during the day if we're home alone together all day. We will abstain from that. Affection is fine. Everything else is fine. But it created issues in our relationship early on that we agreed as a group that we would only, like, once we get up for the day and get out of bed, that is then the next person's night, and we will refrain from sleeping with the partner who it's not our night with. I would say the only exception to that is if we're on vacation or something, you know, we're not going to be unreasonable. And we don't very often switch nights. That comes from an ethical standpoint. If I'm fighting with my fiance and say I don't want to share a bed with him, I'm not going to go to my metamour, my partner's partner, and say, hey, I want to switch nights. I want to be with my husband tonight because I'm mad at my other partner. That's not going to happen. It's then not ethical for me to take away from their relationship because my relationship is having a hard time. Granted, I'm having a hard time, I need more support. That's a completely different thing. I'm not going to take away her night with her partner just because my relationship is affected. There's always a couch. Right? And we've never really run into that problem. A lot of people ask, what if you're fighting? A lot of polyamory is owning your feelings. We don't place jealousy on other people. Polyamorous people absolutely get jealous. Jealousy is a human emotion. We can feel jealous over our romantic partners, over our friends, over our family. There's plenty of different situations where we feel jealous in the world, and it is a very human thing to feel. I don't feel that I experience jealousy a lot anymore, but that's because I've built a lot of security in my relationships, and I absolutely do feel envy, and I think it's important to differentiate those two. I am envious when my partner goes out and does something fun that I might have had fun doing and I'm home with the kids. But the reality is that if he comes home and I say, hi, I'm feeling some type of way, I need a little bit of extra attention, and also I would like to plan something fun too, I like that so much better than don't do that with that person because it's going to make me feel some type of way and I want you to take me to do it instead. We just come at jealousy from a standpoint of what is the need that's not being met? Where's the insecurity and how can we give it some attention? And also sometimes these big feelings just need a voice. So even just saying, hey, I'm feeling some type of way and giving your partner an opportunity to be like, oh babe, I love you so much. Let's plan something. I want to make you feel better. It's a team effort here to work through those jealous feelings. Jealousy is not something to be hidden. It's not a bad thing. It's human. And the more time and security that you build, the more reassurance you let your partner give you, the more reassurance you give. We're not shaming people for the feelings that they're feeling. Every single feeling that pops into your brain is valid. Anything that you feel is valid. It may not be rational, but it is valid. And that means that it needs a voice and it needs to be addressed. So it's extremely important to communicate those feelings. You don't have to deal with it by yourself. Being jealous is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're not cut out for polyamory. It just means that there's insecurity or need that's not being met that we need to give some attention to. Let's talk about where you find polyamorous people. I would say the most prevalent place that you find your polyamorous community is online, both social media and also dating apps, dating groups. I met my partners on a dating app called 3Fun, and although we weren't looking for a polyamorous relationship at the time, we were just looking for something physical, i.e. swinging. We weren't looking for that. We did very quickly fall for each other and very quickly have to navigate polyamory and learn all the things and what's ethical and what's not and how we identify and what makes sense for us. All we knew is we wanted to spend time together, and that's great. But love is not enough to make a relationship or a family. So we had to work really hard through the logistics of things to be able to move through that and into an ethical relationship. And it took years. It was not easy. It was a challenge. But the growth that has come from that is something that I would never take for granted. I have the most unique and beautiful relationships, and the way that people show up for me, I know is so authentic, and it's just been a really special experience for me. If you don't have any luck finding your people online, personally, I am not on Facebook, but I do know that there is lots of local Facebook groups. I know if there's some in our rural area, then I'm sure there's some near you. I would love to continue to cultivate more safe spaces for polyamorous people, but that's not something I've been able to build out yet. I've been to polyamorous events. Clubs are really fun. Online is a really great place to connect with people that have similar values as you do. If you or your partner are interested in pursuing polyamory or learning more, my advice to you is to consume as much polyamory as you can. Ethical polyamory, look up how other people are doing it, watch videos on TikTok, watch videos on Instagram. Polyamory in the media is really tough, but there is good media out there. See what the options are, see what other people have come up with. If you want to bring polyamory to your partner, start showing them the real life examples, because sometimes when you just talk about the idea of polyamory, it can be really scary. It feels like the unknown. Oh, I've never seen that before. I don't like that. I don't want to, put ourselves in this situation. And some people can feel very threatened. Thank you guys so very much for being here. Thank you for supporting our family. Thank you for listening to me yap. Thank you for finding value in my words. If you did, please drop any questions you have below. Thank you for all your continued support. We're going to keep talking about polyamory. We're going to keep normalizing it. I'm going to drop some of my favorite resources in the description for this video. So there will be books, there will be podcasts, there will be pages that I love to follow that I've learned so much from. Please don't hesitate to look us up on TikTok, Instagram. We love sharing our family. We've started to share more of our farm content, and that's been really fun. I'm excited to continue to share education, share my personal experience, answer questions, and just show up for you guys in any way that I can. Thank you again for everything you do, for all the love and support. The support system that polyamory has given to me, I will forever cherish. And I know my kids will too. Bye.